showing, this camera was on showing me,
Yep.
not that.
Okay.
So it's get
Yeah.
ready.
Yeah, because you have to go into you have to switch it sometimes.
Oh, there it is. It's working. It's getting
Yeah.
ready. Okay. Oh, that's that one.
Yeah, because you have to go into
There we go.
bring zoom up.
There it is.
Takes a little bit.
Okay, 2 people entered. Hold on a second. Okay, we have Terry and Rob. Bob. They're both on.
I'm here.
Okay. United States of America, republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Here, County, here, Brian, here, Robert.
There.
We have Miller and Terry Henry and this evening, public session on agenda items only. On the district building report. Brian Hippie or somebody still here? No. All right. Brian or Hippie? I don't really know anything. Did he have anything? Yep.
Yep. Hello?
Yes. Do you have anything?
No.
No.
All right. We have the president report.
Yep, just the 2 building use requests that have been submitted to you and voted members.
All right, we have those here. Randy Valley, for his July for his birthday. And our stewards, motorcycle club, which is where
Oops. I think we lost Commissioner Miller.
Okay.
Yes. So, the fire department approved the one that Casey DeBell that you guys pre-approved last month. So the fire department approved that one for Casey. Thank you. I had a post inspection, for the fish dinner on the March 9th. I'm sorry, on the February 27th, but I left it at the firehouse. I will get that to Bob. We are canceling the fish dinners for the 13th and the 20th. It's just a lot, and it doesn't give us an opportunity to go to other fire departments, so we're kind of like cancel those 2 in a row, because then we don't get supplies, so we're not gonna have anything on the 13th or the 20th. We have 2 new members voted in March meeting, 1 junior member, Nicholas Anthony Schipo Jr. I'm still waiting on some paperwork for him. Once I get the completed paperwork, I will get it to Bob. Hopefully, if you guys are okay with at least pre-approving him or something, if we could, to get him moving, but he misplaced his workers' papers, so we're trying to find.
We have everything else, you know, Jay.
I have everything else here, but that and I gotta get the
His background check was fine, so.
yeah, so I gotta get the
Why don't
copy
you
back.
send that on, we'll take a look, and
Yep.
I think that's the only other thing I.
You got it.
I'll remember, check, we can take a look at that.
And we'll do that, thank you. And 1 social member, Kristen Theron, so they've joined the department. As you know, we're gonna be at Browns Brewing with the Freesville, so hopefully you guys come down and give us all the votes and then that'd be cool. Hey, I talked to Tom about the request for the outlet. Joey, when he comes back to vacation, to take a look at that and fix that for us and help us out with that, which we appreciate. One thing I did ask for, because I know that, and I don't know if they've done it, it's been 8 here, but when the town switched over to sand, we're bringing a crap load of sand at the firehouse, so we're trying to rinse the trucks off and everything else, but if we can get some additional, we're gonna look at like 3x5 mats for the firehouse, so we can put them inside the room, so they can try to cut down on the sand when we in the room, the nice floor we got done, that would be appreciative. Low sap, we had some questions about low sap, I know some of the members behind me got some questions we're gonna bring up. And they wanted the individual statements, which I got from, Sean the other day, so I printed them all off. And I will hand them individual statements out to them, individually tomorrow night, to start tomorrow night. Bobby French was listed, he wasn't on the original list, but I found out he's on a different list, and I got his sheet for him, so he's all set. And then here too, we noticed there was some ceiling tiles leaking, we think it might be old tiles, we're not sure, so we marked them. So that we can see if they're still leaking in the bathroom in the old commissioner's edition that was there. So we're keeping an eye on that. But we did develop a brand new leak in the ceiling, in the meeting room ceiling right near the kitchen door. And that started right at the onset of our fish dinner on the 27th. It just started leaking like crazy. So we put a bucket underneath there and it seemed to stop, but it was coming through a screw hole. And it's right in the track of the ceiling. So it could be like 4 foot that way or 27 foot that way, so we don't know where the leak is coming from, it's right in the curve of the seam. So if we can look at that, I would appreciate that.
For the mats, that's who's going on with that. Bob is gonna get a quote.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now, that's probably it's like that.
And Joe said when he got back, he was gonna see exactly how many you needed. Okay. Joe said when he got back, he was gonna see exactly how many you would need for the mats.
Yes,
And then-
yeah, I was figuring every door, we could even downstairs, because it's room and stuff, I think I come up with 8, the entrances.
Okay.
We can put them, I don't know about the engine room, I don't know how they're gonna hold up, but I mean, I know we have one in the engine room where most of us come through for calls. To kind of cut down on the stuff on that thing, coming in, but upstairs definitely is what we need to have done.
I mean,
Addition.
do we need to formally?
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and order, we get them from American Formats, since they make for about every company. So it's because, I mean, we're not gonna get cheap ones, because if we get cheap ones, they don't last. So we get good ones, it's gonna be a little pricey, but they'll last for 15 years.
You feel more comfortable with us pre-approving it now, I don't care. It's like- Just don't want to.
It's really just a normal maintenance.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and we'll
Yeah.
get them ordered up.
It's gonna follow the policy.
You're gonna send up Nick Son's info and the social numbers really just an FYI.
Here's what I have on the original for that.
There's really nothing else you can take.
That's, we're just missing his working papers and the background check conference.
Where's the background, is that, you have that?
I give it to the secretary of the executive recently.
I finally get him to try to reach out to him, but he's not there, so I'll get it, as soon as I get that, I'll get it. But we did view it and it's clear.
I watch out for those Stevens.
Yeah, like I said, we're trying to get his, he was not happy with his son because he lost his. So he was trying to get another copy today and I don't think it happened, so, because I didn't hear.
Right. Approval of the minutes. Alright, I was not. I was not at that meeting, I'm going to. Say, Rich made a motion, second by Brian, all in favor.
Aye.
You do a bank reconciliation, you gotta sign off on. Oh, wait, you know. All right, well, as of February 28th, the money market account had a reconciled balance of $340,381 of that amount. $1,181,048 capital reserve equipment. $108,234 is capital reserve building, $51,698 capital reserve repairs. The money market account, excuse me, for the month of February 2000 year to date, $3,395. The WFP capital project represents a balance of $157,502, earning $167 with years per month. Our operating checking account had a balance of $124,804, earning $452.43 for the interest every month. All of this information is reflected on those bank reconciliations that you're signing off on. Moreover, attached to the general fund checking account, bank rec is a list of all the checks that were cut, that were approved last month, check number and dollar amounts. See, we had received two payments. We received a refund from New York State for account for $2,200 that was deposited, and then we received another check from Travis Littlefield for the sale of the air compressor, which was 127.
No, 100 even.
100 even. We had two deposits. I also I'll go over the annual report. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So the annual report was filed in a timely fashion. So there's different funds. There's an A fund, which is our general fund. We'll go over first. It gives you a breakdown of the amount of cash we have in the checking account, the amount of cash that we have in reserves. Also lists the amount of investment that we have with VFIS for our service award program. A little over $3 million. We had some accounts receivable due to us. Anyhow, we had total assets of $4,662,910. That does not include any capital assets for equipment, buildings, or that's another fund. So if you remember your accounting assets equals liabilities and equities. So the next part on page 4 represents our liabilities and our fund balances. So we have total liabilities of $140,743, and then we have restricted fund balance of $4,371,620. We have assigned funds. These are for accrued expenditures that we had providing me a list for. On page 5, there is what we're left over with at the end of the year, which was $87,889, which we're going to have to assign to transfer to another fund. We traditionally do. And I think we were kind of all looking at putting that in the capital reserve equipment fund. Yeah, approve this and then make another resolution to transfer that. So kind of looking for 3 resolutions, one for the treasury report, one for the annual report, and then one for the transfer of funds. Okay, and then I'm on page 6. It's the results of operation, basically your income statement showing we had revenues of $1,911,434. The next page shows there was a transfer from the WFD fund into the general fund. So basically any of the payments that we made for the upgrades in WFD just came out of our checking account. And I took the money out of the WFD special fund to put it in. So really we had just over $2 million in income. Page 7. Page 8 gives you a breakdown of some of our expenditures. We have our public safety expenditures of $822,000, or more than that, and then employee benefits. Big one there is the LoSAP, $216,543. Then the page, we see there was some, page 9, there was some interest payments for both here and WFD. And then there was some principal payments for here and WFD. Total expenditures of $1,599,432. So then the final page, for the general fund, the A fund, it's on page 10, and it shows that we started with a beginning balance of $4,076,000, shows the income coming in, the expenditures going out, and the year-end fund balance of $523,167. Next, we have our adopted budget for this year, so that's on page 11, that shows the revenues coming in. And page 12 shows the forecasted expenditures going out. And they equal. Which is the beach fund, which is that capital projects for WFD. Has a balance of $157,139 as of the end of the year. And that's also reflected with the fund balance for 2013. So assets to equal. I'm on page 15. This just shows the results of operations. Any money coming in or disbursements going out. We did earn some interest on that account of $6,437. You can see at the bottom of page 16, there's that transfer out of $134,522. That's the one money that went to the gate fund for any of the payments next year. But we're staying away from this. All right. I'm on page 18. This is the capital projects fund balance. We started off the year with 285,000. We took in some interest of just over 6,000. We made that one transfer to the A fund of 134,000, leaving us with an ending count of $157,139. Okay, I'm going on to page 19. This is the your capital assets. We have land valued at $14,924 building, $11,032,346 improvements to build improvements other than to building $195,815. Excuse me, machinery and equipment $5,010,503, and that ties out to the ending balance. Okay, let's see what we got left here. We have on page 20. This is for the bonds. Bonds payable. So we have $7,220,000 in bonds between this station and the upgraded WFD station. Page 21, 22, 23, 24, they're all just kind of like notes to the financial statements. Showing like the bank rec, showing that the amortization of the bonds, showing money that was spent on Social Security, pension funds, life insurance, just a little more detail. It's completed and submitted. I would like to have an email receipt for that. So that concludes my treasurer's report and my presentation for the annual report. Correct, digitally fine.
Back or
They just take it on the email, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do check, because last year they had a question on due from what happens at the end of how I was saying earlier, I take money out of the well, last year at the end of the year, for the payments we made in December of last year, I didn't transfer the funds in time. So I had a due from. And they reached out to me, why are you doing this? And I explained to them. So they do really go through and, follow up. So, yeah.
All right. So a resolution to accept the treasurer's report. So, John. Roll call.
Rich. Dan. John. Brian. Bob.
Aye.
Dan report.
We can make a resolution to accept the annual report. Secretary Rich, roll call.
Rich. Dan. John. Brian. Bob.
Aye.
Carries.
Right, so
Let's see exactly.
$87,889.
the capital reserve equipment. fund.
Terry texted you something about that.
Yeah, I don't,
Oh,
yeah,
Eric's talking.
okay. Yeah, why don't, Dan, why don't you just read what I texted you?
So go ahead and read what he said.
Yeah. Terry's suggesting that we hold off on making that transfer in case we need it for LoSAP. So is this something we could do next month if need be, Terry, if it's not needed for LoSAP?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with holding off if Sean doesn't. I just, I think we got some balls in the air on LoSAP, and rather than committing 87 that you can't uncommit, it might be better to have that as if you have to take the edge off of something in LoSAP. But it's entirely up to Sean. It's just an idea that came to me. I don't know. I don't want to interfere with Sean's bookkeeping.
I do agree with that, but we had, in our long range plan, this was normally kind of from the WFD fund. Remember I said I didn't transfer it last year, so I transferred the money this year, so that's kind of like a surplus.
Why are we holding off?
Because remember we're only like 80 to 85% funded for LoSAP, and depending on what we want to do, we might want to finish funding it, so we said, maybe we'll hold on to this, use it for that. I don't already think yes.
Which is, I'll rescind my resolution.
Do we have any,
I'm waiting.
on this sheet?
Well, the sooner the better, I'm thinking about this. No, and we're kind of like waiting on EFIS to give us our current actuarial report. Yeah. To see how we're funding. Yeah.
They want me to pay them
No, this is part of the regular package. They do the regular actuarial report. And I did call Sarah this month to talk to her about that, and I was asking her to give a $30 thing, which was $7.50. I mean, you already have it all in there. So just change my dollar benefit from 20 to 30. You don't have to change my life expectancy or any of that stuff. All the other variables remain the same. It's what it is.
So we don't have that.
We that was something I was going to discuss.
That's
on the
fine.
side. Sorry, yeah.
All right,
So you're telling me,
all right. Approval of the current month's invoices, I didn't have any questions or concerns,
Look like we got branches over, and I didn't have the benefit of what the bill. What the hell happened with the actual bridge?
It's normal.
That's
New
normal. What's going on? Okay, if you take a look at your like household bills and then just kind of extrapolate it out, look at it from a business standpoint, that's what businesses are paying now.
It seems to be the national grid was the deal compared to NICE, but right now, NICE is half.
It's rough.
$1,000 a month.
Yeah.
for here.
One card separate.
We need a separate.
Just for electric. That's not gas.
No, it is. It's electric.
So,
You can't-
it's over.
So, yeah, solar. Sure.
Okay, I'm taking a resolution to approve the invoices. All right, so let's, all right, so let's entertain a resolution to approve all of the invoices with the exception of, what's it for? Tax. Oh, because yours is from the previous year.
Right.
All right, so other than, we're gonna, one resolution to approve all of the invoices with the exception of the physical fitness and the tax reimbursement. So this is you guys can vote on. I'll just make it. Made by Rich, roll call.
Rich, Dan, John, Brian, Bob.
entertain a second resolution to approve the physical fitness reimbursement and the text messaging reimbursement. Second. Second by Rich, roll call.
Rich, Dan,
Aye.
John, Brian, Hippie, Bob,
Aye.
Okay, resolution's carried. Old business, WFD overhead door expansion, is gonna be Bob or the Hippie or.
Got correspondence.
That's good. Lots of correspondence.
Yes, we got a lot this month. All right, the Capital Area Fire Districts Association received their annual conference announcement and a training opportunity for financial training for fire district officials. The 25 LoSAP census review memo from last month we received. Notes from the Quackendary Commons site plan meeting. There's a bill of sale with a check for the Sanborn compressor. FASNY Awards and Scholarship announcement. The Association of Fire Districts, State of New York, Fire District Affairs for February, March brochure came out. I received a check from Robert Durivage for phone charge reimbursements, the amount of $27.44. The M&T Bank month-end collateral statement, close of business February 2026. Another FASNY training symposium announcement, and we received a check from Sean Kerwin for phone charge reimbursement, the amount of $11. Bob, can you hear us?
Yes.
Do you want to give the update on the overhead door expansion project?
Bobby Durivage has got all the information and I support what he's put out there. Bob, do you have all that info? Or do you want to present? I think you presented it to the board, didn't you?
The board is Terry Hennig and I, we went over some of the logistics, legal end on this, and Terry felt that because the board hasn't actually signed a contract for those truck, that maybe the board might want to consider signing that, when you get to that point of improvement and signing the contract, then doing this, right after it. So Terry, you might want to chime in on that.
Yeah, and again, I hate to meddle and act like the sixth commissioner. I'm not. But in kind of in the hierarchy of things you're accomplishing, you don't really have a present need for the door work because you don't have a commitment to a truck. And again, I realize prices are always going up, and that would certainly be an inducement to do it sooner rather than later. But I would also not want you to get out kind of over your skis, get ahead of, the process. If you haven't got it, if you're not ready to commit to the new truck, maybe you should wait till you have that spec completed before you mandate changes. Now, again, I'm not in depth in these. You may need the changes anyway, but I would not want you to go ahead and make modifications and then find out hey, we needed another 4.5 inches height, or we needed to move something else. Just because you haven't got the truck spec done, and that's my only concern. But obviously, the board's free to, you've got the information in front of you. As I said to Bob earlier today, it's kind of hard to justify the construction for the new truck when you don't have what the new truck is. Although again, you've done a lot of background work, but it's purely a business decision from your standpoint, and obviously you've got a construction season that's coming up, so. That's why you get the big bucks to make the big decisions. That was just my observation.
Basically, we could potentially be putting the cart before the horse.
I was going to say close the barn door after the horse got away, but it was a mixed metaphor, bad analogy. But yeah, that's kind of my concern that you know, if you without a truck spec, you're making the modifications. I think you might be subject to being criticized for that, you know, if things, God forbid, didn't work out right in the end. But again, it's going to cost more to do it, you know, next year or maybe even 8 months from now. So it's your call, certainly.
My question becomes, we know that the, building modification is going to be subject to provincial referendum. And we know that there's going to be some kind of provincial referendum or full referendum to buy the truck. What happens if we approve the truck and then we can't get the building approved? I'm following at least 2 cases in the country, one here in New York State, where aerials were ordered and now can't be delivered because they got nowhere to put them. And in one case, in one in New York State, that apparently the village board backed out on renovating the firehouse. So now also.
Yeah, you know, to steal from a well-known insurance company, I think we would bundle those two as part of a resolution. The modification of the firehouse on permissive referendum and bonding, assuming you're bonding some or all of it on the mandatory bond resolution, and you either get both of them or you get none of them.
The other half of it is as we alluded, we're getting into construction season. Contractors are looking to line up their work for the summer, and lay out their schedules. They've given us prices. While we're zooming in and kind of focusing on one manufacturer right now, there isn't a manufacturer we met with that hasn't told us that we'd be much better served raising that building, you know, 8 or 10 inches, 12 inches, whatever we can get out of it. And you know, I guess my question becomes, why wait? We got contractors ready to go, we got the building ready to go, let's get that out of the way. So I don't think the truck is gonna be that much farther behind. I don't think we're ready to approve the truck tonight. To go to bid. We're certainly not ready to have a there. But I don't know. I can't see the overall purpose of it.
It's a valid point, Rich. It's your call. I mean, I was just, you know, being the contrarian.
That's what I'm talking.
One thing I'd like to add is I think we're pretty close to making, the truck committee is pretty close to making a recommendation to the board. We've had the final meeting with them. They addressed every concern we had. They haven't adjusted their price. It may go up slightly or down slightly on the changes we made. My viewpoint is it'll go down a little. So it's definitely not going to be out of whack where we were. It's the truck the committee's recommended. So could we do them both together and still get it done in short order? You know, that's up to the board, but Rich and John can chime in there because sitting on the committee, John is a fire department member, not as commissioner, but where we're at it. I mean, I think everybody should have a spec by now on the thing, the final stuff that we got back from them. Everybody received that email from me?
We didn't get it. Like what was sent out to staff to put it in Dropbox.
I think we're the commissioners.
Right, so I'm just saying, it would come to us, you know, to get it put in Dropbox.
Say buying a $2+ million fire truck. Staff gets to, he was potentially being.
I'm forwarding it to Sean and Sean, Mike and Bob right now.
I do have 2 questions for Sean.
Two.
One, how are we paying for it? Is the
That's up to the board.
Well, no, but I mean, when you're the budget person, you know where the money's sitting at. Is this something that was gonna come out, bond just turn into the piggy bank, which I believe we're trying to allocate that money towards the truck. So if we take it out of the bond, how's that affect how much we can afford for the truck?
Right, so we'll be taking money that we're kind of forecasting in the long range planning to go for the apparatus. Instead, we might be using it for this upgrade, or there is $180,000 in capital reserve building that we could use.
Okay, so now if we wait, close the bond out, which we really probably should start looking at doing. Again, bring it up, but, we close it out and then we wait 6, 9 months and 6, 7. Is this something, I just wanna make sure we can afford it because once you close the bond out, we can't.
Right, we can't dip into that, so we have to take it out of the capital reserve. The building, because I can't say right now we have enough money in the general fund.
Oh, no, totally, that's why.
Yeah, so there's two places to get it from, that WFP project, one from the bond and capital reserve.
Right, to get out of the bond because we can afford for a truck.
Right. So I would be more. I would suggest we take it out of capital reserve building, so that money that we're kind of earmarking for it.
That's one covers.
Obviously, I'm not against replacing the ladder truck. If that's necessity to increase the height of the door, that's fine, but I personally don't feel comfortable in myself at least voting to approve basically $50,000 tonight. Based on Terry's comments and feedback, I feel like we're kind of in the park a little worse, but I'm only one of 5 people here, so anybody would interpret that I'm anti this whole thing just feels kind of piecemeal and a little unsettling. So.
I respect that, but I guess in my mind, I'm kind of separating the projects a little bit.
That's fine. So
If people see the exclusive.
Bob, would those quotes still be an option next month?
Expires March
Does it?
Yeah, I mean,
So that's.
Wayne Shaft held his price from December, okay? Wayne Shaft did, so the fact of him holding his price longer, can't say that. Matson over at George, they did update their price, okay, for this quote from last month. I was told to get updated quotes. Saxton Signs, we just got their quote, so that's like 45 days old. So, I mean, is it realistic that we could see the, a $3,000-4,000 bump on this? Yeah, I mean, if we wait, that's more than a possibility.
Material cost, well,
Yeah.
errors.
Or
we have, I guess, some kind of explanation of the truck. Again, I wasn't here last month, so all this was already submitted and I discussed it with my apologies. For the spec, do we have, or will the district be receiving, like, just the background information on how we got that? I just know the last time I was the chair of the truck committee, we had a lot of information from yeah, this is the biggest purchase we're gonna make, and I just make sure that's the buy.
Okay. We did request that last month. So I know Bob stepped out. No, it's not. Oh, sorry. I was thinking there. I did request
Mike had to
last month.
leave. No.
Hey, Bob, are you there?
Durivage or North?
Bob Durivage. Yeah, if we can fill a little dead air here, it kind of dovetails with something else you're going to talk about later, but you're probably looking at a labor cost increase July 1 with the new prevailing wage scale coming out then.
Terry just said that you're probably gonna be looking at a new wage increase cost come July 1 with the new prevailing wage schedule coming out, so that's something to take into consideration also.
We've got a truck coming and no building. Put it in for a contract and do the building. I don't even want to be in a position where there's a month delay where somebody from the public can make noise about the fact that, oh, the fire district's not even prepared, they ordered this new aerial, and they can't even fit it in their building. So I don't want to be in that position. I want to be, projects need to flow.
Isn't there a lag time of 2 years on this?
Yeah. But people, the one in Western New York or Central, it's Western New York, following. They had ordered the aerial. And then at the last minute, the village board backed down and said, we're not gonna do that in the station. And now they're basically, they're looking at, are they gonna keep it in the town garage or just gonna sell it? And it's reports I'm seeing, it's like they're gonna go to the highest bidder. A couple people have said it to me saying, hey, to the fire department, the fire district use this.
But to counter that though, we don't have to go to the town board. And we have a place to put it.
I get that.
No, I know. I guess I'm playing with Terry's.
Well, we disagree on this, that's okay. We don't have to be, agree. My personal opinion, I would feel more comfortable if this place being packaged. This is what we need, this is what's gonna cost. Total. Building, the truck, this is the timeline. I know it's a little piecemeal, but I get the point, so I don't think we should hesitate.
I think we're at 95%, 90 to 95%. And but however, that said, I can't remember where this board has voted on an apparatus package where we weren't at 98 or 100. There's still some things to sort out here. They have taken some notes that we're going to check with our engineering, see if they can do that, how they can do that. There's some layout stuff about how cross lays and dead lays and that kind of stuff is going to be all laid out over and around the pump panel and the, in those areas. Transverse area, if you will. And there were a couple other items that was like, okay, let's see what they can come back with. There was a question on the tires, and that one bothered me. That's an area, I'm not a trucker. I don't tend to be a trucker. I don't know a lot about truck operation. But the tires one kind of jumped out at me because I got a CDL, and it just didn't seem right. So I made a phone call, and sure enough, you got a 24,000 pound axle on the front end of that thing. You got a 24,000 pounds worth of tires. You can't put 23,000 pounds on and say, well, it's close enough, and you guys will never go that fast anyway. It doesn't work. It's illegal. So it's, that's a bad step. But there may be other stuff that's in there that can be taken out.
All right, so the issue right now, you want is the overhead door, so we need to want or take it over.
I think we've talked about it, the board has talked about it, about knowing that any new aerial that we're getting, we're gonna have to do something with that door. I think we gotta move on that door before we start getting higher pricing. Prices are only gonna keep going up.
No, I think I said last month, probably last year too, it's gotta get done no matter what, every truck is gonna go to farm, it's won't fit in the current station. If it's shot down, it's going before we buy a truck.
Right, so does somebody want to make a sale or something?
I'll make the resolution to approve. It's $50,000 to cover the cost as savings.
Second. Resolution made by Rich, seconded by John.
With the funding to come out of capital reserve building subject to.
Purpose. And we can do if it passes, Terry and I will do the permissive referendum and you'll mail it out, send it out.
Rich, hi, Dan,
No.
John,
Aye.
Brian, hi.
Resolution carries.
Aye.
Forgot you're out there. Resolution carries. Okay. New business, wound care.
Yeah, and I sent the board, I sent the board and it's also in Dropbox under new business. Yep.
Basically, last year we switched from high tech to sunshine, with the difference.
Yep.
Sunshine proposal is now a 17% increase from 25 for last. Prices increased from $8,040 in 2025 to $95.40 in 2026. High tech is quoted at 2,280. Understandably, it's not like this is the back and forth, and it's a pretty significant price difference. Recommendation. High tech.
I didn't bring complaints last year from, about, sunshine. But then again, we heard it just doesn't look as crisp kind of comments. Nobody complained about how it looked, it was like, it's great.
There, early on, there were definitely some schedule issues with Sunshine that deserved our attention, and Brian, as commissioner property, was aware of it, but we rectified it. But I mean, high tech, the only reason we switched is just because of cost. It was, again, a little bit, Sunshine was a little bit under decent amount, but high tech has always done an excellent job for the district. Yes, you're right. We're over at Winesco.
Rich, Dan,
Aye.
John, Brian, Bob,
Aye.
Yep. Yeah, we were notified, actually a phone call from the Department of Labor in February. I contacted the individual back. He indicated that all municipalities, special districts would be required as of January 1 to not necessarily us enroll, but we would have to seek out these prevailing rate case numbers for all contractors that are required to submit the electronic payrolls. It's gonna be a fair amount of work. It's gonna be a little magic at times, and how we work with different contractors that fall under the threshold or are exempt. But at the end of the day, this is real, correct, Terry?
Yeah, this is the government helping, Bob. But Bob's memos nailed it perfectly. And after Bob and I talked, I spoke with the DOL too. And I think Bob's got two viable alternatives for you. One is you basically get you have to go on and register, and Bob can do that. I'm about ready to send out a tutorial to my other districts. You do it, you can do it essentially a project number for a vendor, like all your HVAC people. You would just have a project number that would go for a year. Now, it's not a real year because it's New York State. It goes from July 1 to June 30th. Or say in the instance of the garage door, maybe that's you get a project number for that because it may involve multiple trades, electricians, laborers, sheet metal people for all I know. But it's really, it's nothing you really have to concern yourself with. You're in good hands with Bob. There's a bunch of other places, including towns and other municipalities that are stumbling through this. And typically what happens is you get a call from a vendor that needs a PRC number, and now you have to go online and register so that they can file their certified payroll. So, but Bob summed it up beautifully. In fact, I tend to plagiarize, some of what he wrote to you guys, but it's great. State of New York, folks.
Barry, with your knowledge of this, in the end, is this gonna help people that work in these kinds of jobs get the money they deserve for working in a? It's
going to mandate that those good contractors have a PRC number and submit certified payroll. It will, I guess my analogy, and this is a really rough one, is legalizing marijuana and bringing it out of the shadows will destroy the illegal drug trade or the illegal pot trade. Yeah, it's kind of like that. You're still going to have still have contractors that don't do it, but this is kind of an effort to try and put belt and suspenders on accountability for the contractors, and by making the municipality have to do more work, that's how the state figures it can make the contractors step up to the plate. I'm not really sure how that works. I think the legitimate contractors will have always done it. And I think the illegitimate ones will just do workarounds.
Greatly irritates me when I run into fire commissioners or town board or village board members elsewhere that openly brag about the fact that they beat the prevailing wage requirement by some little subterfuge thing. Because I know how careful we are about staying within those regulations. And it's like, it costs us extra to do work and others don't. That just really irritates me. So if it helps lead to that in the end, I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah, I'm not optimistic that it's going to solve the problem, but because I know some of those people you're talking about, Rich, and they brag about it, and it's public policy of the state of New York. You pay prevailing wage on public works jobs. Unfortunately, it's more work. It's a bit greater onerous on the municipality. And if you were, like town government is multiple contractors at multiple sites. So the town, some of the town officials I've spoken to, not in North Greenbush, but they're doing it by vendor, just because they figure it's easier rather than doing it by project. Fortunately, our scope's much narrower than a town or a county. So, and you've got Bob on top of this thing, so I know you'll be in compliance.
No, just as long as the board's okay with the recommendations that I made, and I will be getting Mike involved in this because it's going to be a whole other set of record keeping. So like pick up some extra work.
These reports.
Did my purchase for the month of 5 turnout gear. That gets squared away, but then siding appointment done. I visited with the contractor for the solar farm up on Winter Street. They put their Knox boxes in, basically hold the hard gate access code. We're gonna be putting up some contact signs for facilities, for after hours, contacts, because
really nobody really local. There's one person that did the GC work, it was at 43, but, the extra people were there. to Monitor it and oversee the operation of it, in case if it does happen. I did ask a couple questions about like fire suppression, things like that, and his basic answer to me was, if it's inside the fence line, it's on fire, stay out there, we'll come by to turn everything off, and we'll let you know when it's good to go in. Basically, that's gonna be the common, operation there, if that does happen, which hopefully it doesn't. They did say the solar panels they have there are a two-way panel. They were covered in snow the day we were up there, so I asked him that question, and he said the bottom half picks up the reflection. So it's actually a two-way panel. Sure, that's what he said, so I was thinking word for it, I guess. And when the weather gets warmer, he wants us to come back up, we'll do a walk through the entire property, check everything out where things go. And there's still no confirmation to go live date for the project to actually, feasible. The physicals for WFD was scheduled for June 16th and June 30th. This weekend, WFD is going to St. Patrick's Day Parade in Albany. The apparatus, Rescue 4-2, we had our pre-con meeting on the 6th. Work to begin on the 16th. He's expecting a 60 to 90-day workday completion schedule. We reviewed the scope of the work, made a couple minor corrections and additions to it, which really shouldn't be too much of a hassle on his part. While the truck is there, do the PM and pump service. This Tuesday, we're gonna strip the rig completely empty, take it out of service, so next Monday, we can go right over and get that work started. Change the response plans, which I'll go over tomorrow night at drill. We'll reload some equipment on squad 4-2 for the time being. That being said, because of the time frame of the 60 to 90 days to push out the annual PM and service for the other apparatus, because it kind of went like April, May, June, so rather wait till maybe July, August to get the other ones done. So I don't want to take anything else out of service. It's a little short-handed. The in-house tool mounting we decided on. Once everything gets off the rig, we inventory it all. We're gonna go through and see what we're gonna mount and where. We get a list of what we're gonna need for that. And the committee would really work really hard for the last few months to get this done. And thank them again. As for truck 4-2, the outrigger box almost fixed again. It's our issue getting the correct pin style. He's hoping to have that done soon. Back alarm was operational or prepared, was non-operational. As for a motorized intake valve on the passenger side of the ladder truck, they determined that the motor electric valve may be gunked up, not really working to 100%. So we took an external intake valve on it. We still use the manual open and close on that valve. The truck, we want to take the truck out of service or anything or bring over their service. We're gonna wait for the springtime or summertime at the PM. The custom wall screen on 427 died, so they ordered a new one. And then hopefully Farrah gets the Tahoe done. Was there last week. After we were told it was gonna be done on a Monday, but then it was gonna be a Tuesday. I went there on Friday. The truck was missing. They had sent it to a frame guy, get the front rail straightened out on it. I was there today, picking up my wife's car. It wasn't there again. I really want to get into it. I figured I'll wait till Friday again to go there and grasp it again. Yeah, that really project hasn't really worked out too well with us. So other than that, that's really all I got. If you got questions for me.
Steve, how far that responder, like they're real responders, the solar place? Like an hour, 2 hours a day?
The one guy I talked to delivered on 43. He was like the GC, the contractor, basically he helped build it. So he's only around the corner.
So he can do the actual work of shutting it down and all that?
I imagine, I don't know if they have other people. He had explained to me about the whole shut off on the pole at the intersection corner.
Gotcha.
He said basically is they put guys in those little suits where they pull that because sometimes it rains. Electrical. So I was like, we'll keep it up to professionals to do that. So he said basically just stay outside the fence line, someone burning inside there. Let's get here, figure out what's going on.
I think there's a requirement to get me with so many hours.
Yeah,
It's like a state.
Yeah, it was 7 degrees outside and we didn't want to have too much of a conversation about too much, but we go there back there, hopefully when the weather gets warmer, we can try to close one. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, Chief Cooking, he's sorry to be here tonight. Tag him in. So chiefs have been working with the county communications center to update our box alarm assignments and response plans. And working to get them into the new CAD system. Hopefully this is going to reduce the dispatch and response errors or confusion that we've had over the past months. Once approved and uploaded by the county, they'll make appropriate notifications that they're actually in service. Dr. Hayashi from Albany Medical Center has reached out to DFD to participate in assisting with training day for Albany Medical Center emergency medicine residents. The chief offered the station as a site location. So I believe he's going to be meeting with Dr. Hayashi this coming week. And they have a tentative date of April 1st. I guess the training is primarily exposing the resident doctors to actual extrications and working with fire rescue and EMS personnel. So it'd be more of a practical exercise like a drill here, rather than like a classroom session. So Chief will probably brief you more on that later. We will be holding a work detail at the firehouse and a small open house for Recruit New York on April 18th. Historically, Recruit New York really hasn't been overly successful for any agency that we're aware of, maybe one person, but we decided to scale back and kind of turn it into a work detail day. At least we'll be staffed here at the firehouse if people do stop in, we'll promote it as well. This past month, Captain Slupsky and firefighter Denny conducted fire extinguisher training at GE Healthcare in the Tech Park. We've been providing that service to GE Healthcare for several years, and they greatly appreciate our help. The Health and Safety Coordinator has provided the chief with information on how to apply for funding and assistance through one of their GE programs. So he's going to be looking into that to possibly replace our old Bullocks fire extinguisher training system and use that funding for public education. The Rescue 9 committee is continuing to go on field trips, just looking at different options on recently delivered rescue trucks in the Capital District. The chief spoke to a few different vendors, so just progress is ongoing with that. 9/7 coincidentally is going out of service on the 16th for its annual PM. That was pre-scheduled. We tried to work around, but I think it's going to be fine.
Surprise for us too. So
There's no heavy lifting on 9/7's maintenance. We don't have any big list pending with that, so it should only be out of service for maybe 2 or 3 days, hopefully. We'll get that back here. I was contacted by Mike Bonesteel of Vandermolen regarding the pending repair on the cab door that has corrosion on it. That issue was already circulated, I think, amongst the commissioners or the apparatus commissioners and approved for repair. It's a prorated warranty repair, so basically we're paying 50% of the cost of it. So Mr. Bonesteel said that they will be here hopefully either Friday, to remove the door, Friday the 13th, and they'll be able to keep the truck in service. They're just going to take the door, they're going to tape it off, and it should only be out for a week, the door, and then they'll reinstall it. So it should be a pretty quick repair. Lastly, 9/6 was operating at the 43 Mall fire. We were filling tankers at Route 150 and Greenwood Road out of a hydrant there, which provided excellent pressure. We were flowing heavy volume of water. But halfway through the op, we noticed we started to have a reduction in GPM and pressure output and intake. And after the op was done, this is just a sampling of what we got out of the fire hydrant, and our crew totally flushed it with the steamer cap off and flushed a ton of water and rust out of there. But we were flowing so much water that it came through the whole system, is what the water department believed.
and clog the steamer intake, the MIV valve, and a 3-inch, because we were operating a 5-inch and a 3-inch intake into the truck for volume pressure. And 3/4 of both intakes were filled with stones. And there was one residence, I think, on 150 that had a water leak in their residential supply to their house, and it was probably because we were flowing so much water. It had some effect on their valve system, but that wasn't a big deal. But no damage to the pump, but just an FYI, no matter how much we flush, if we start to flow heavy volumes of water, we were, a lot of debris came in, so thankfully we didn't have any damage, but that's why we had that reduction, a 50% reduction in intake because of the debris. So the water department was notified and they just basically said, is what it is. Okay. End of report.
All right, any, questions for Jeff? The unit cost for its, yep. Yep.
Any questions?
From. John, side, Steve. Oh,
Yeah,
As far as the rest of the 9 committee, I'm sitting in the road meeting, and a lot of good thoughts. They got a lot of effort. Really put together a solid plan. The only, well, negative, that's not much of wrong. The only negative I'm gonna put on it is, I don't think that the fiscal forecast in the long range budget is going to sustain the cost of a new aggression. It's the numbers are too different. I'm starting right in the fact that we have looked at a heavy rescue with engine capability, which is what the long range planning committee said for. It's not a twin screw. So that means it has significant cost over what and was farther out to the truck, but not the farther. Pretty much got at least 2, maybe 3 more than the tentative schedule to look at. That would be bigger roads, and that should be this upcoming week.
Maybe you have anything?
now that I think if you take a look at the specs I sent around to everybody, we had probably 4 pages of questions that we addressed to Rosenbauer. they sent back and answered every one of them in the last meeting we're in. And don't really feel there's that much left other than maybe a location of a pike pole or location of a ladder. They seem to have addressed everything, so I'm just waiting for him to give me back the hard number we're at, but he can probably have that for me in a week working with the engineers. So they're pretty comfortable with the way we dug it apart and ripped everything and questioned everything. So I'm not sure there's that much of that many more items left on the list we need to address. Okay. I don't know what the board would like to do next, but I kind of think we're pretty much there. They did address the thing that Rich mentioned about the axles. There's an exemption that the district will sign for those tires saying that the truck won't drive over 50 miles without pulling off for like 10 minutes to cool the tires off. So it's nothing that I think we'll ever run into in the district. So I'm not worried about that. He says it's pretty common throughout all the truck manufacturers that they do that. But we can hammer that again to get a really solid answer from them, so we're comfortable with it. And I've done some checking with some of the truck manufacturers, and it didn't seem that was like an oh my god, I'd stay away from that. It was like, yeah, that happens. That's understandable. That's the way they do some things. So I don't see it as a safety issue. Let's put it that way.
Where's the main thing, over 50 miles to Allenville?
I'm sorry, I couldn't copy that.
Get done, it's over 50 miles, Allenville.
Yeah, yeah. So that means I got to build it right, so don't go to Ballinville. Now they can't. The way they worded it was that you can't do 65 miles an hour over 50 miles without pulling it off and letting it cool off for a couple minutes. My belief is that from listening to them, and we'll get an answer from them, that this is common practice with ladder towers because of the 24 in the state of New York. The weight capacity goes by the lesser of any component. In this case, it would be the tires, which I believe were. If you look in the spec, I think it's someplace between 23 and 23.2, something like that on one of the pages. But the axle is 24, so they could put bigger tires on it. We wouldn't be able to turn it.
I don't see where the district's standing would be signing a letter to the manufacturer telling them that we don't want them to follow federal DOT law. It seems to me that if someone ever got hurt, we just exempted the manufacturer from some of the liability and exposure and took it all on ourselves. That's why
I didn't get that sense from the way they explained it to us, but we can get that documented from them. They're actually shipping the truck out of there. They have to meet federal highway safety standards. So that falls back on them no matter what they try to do. They produce that truck. If you looked at the weight thing they sent us in the first group of things they sent back to us, I believe that one was a yellow, which meant something to keep an eye on. That's all it was. It was getting close in the weight distribution.
BJ probably has the best understanding of where our standing would be in the law.
I'm sorry?
I'd like to run that one by AJ and have a discussion with him on that, because I think he.
Sure. I support that, Rich. I think it's a good idea.
Bob, can you or Rick, just between now and the next meeting, give Bob or Sean just a copy of your records from, the meetings, committee meetings you had, other manufacturers you looked at,
Yeah,
Before we take a vote, just to, so we have some documentation to show, like, you know.
yeah, that's something Bob and myself talked about before. I emailed him the other day, the full final spec with the drawings and a list of the 4 pages that we raised as concern and, their answers to those.
Oh, you can hear.
So he has,
In general, since you started meeting like the other manufacturers. you'll-
right, I'm gonna,
You know, we can show and have documentation on file of that.
yep, I got it all. I guess gotta bring it, I got,
I mean, if you can get showing that, that would be good. Anything else? Buildings and grounds, John and, I have some.
Bob called me the other day on one item, we worked through it. I don't know if John has anything or Bob has anything, but I don't have anything else.
This is personnel. I don't have anything, but there is a need to go into it with a very brief executive session, after the main portion of the meeting. Finance insurance, LoSAP. Brian, I'll turn that over to you.
No, there's not really, something already looked to waiting on the FIS, get some real numbers. I'll be really preparing for some of the decisions.
Yeah, I'm still compiling that analysis you're asking me to do. So that's one thing. I
I
did
think
get,
there's like 4 options, but.
yeah, I did give Michelle the census, so she signed that off before she went to Florida. You guys signed off on the documentation for Penflex, so that check will go out. So those recipients will be getting their money timely this year. Oh, is it all right if I give the chiefs all the text messaging and gym membership checks and give them back to them?
Make them out to me, it's all I ask.
All right, so I'll have them on your desk tomorrow. Okay?
Thank you.
That was it.
Right? Long-range planning, Brian and John.
Well, I mean, I don't want to do it too soon, but, with the rescue, looking like it's gonna cost more than, gas. The truck getting ordered a little later than we planned. We don't have a firm price yet, the price is one range meeting, probably I'd say no later than May, next month, but, depends when we can get the number back. Any number. Start from there. So if we need to get the number back within the next week or so, I'll try to schedule some for April. If not, we may. We do try to meet sooner than we plan to hold on to the fall, but.
Because you remember there was variance in our schedule, and part of that was having almost twice the amount of money left over from the WFP fund.
That's what we worry about every year, holding off for the truck, and now we're at 26 million plan on that.
Yeah. So, yeah, we should get together so we can nail that down, because I think you guys can about the bid we are.
Get the number, like in the next week or so, from Rosenbauer. Let's see what John is in the ballpark. I don't know what the other trucks even expect that, or I have no idea what to split that, but we'll go from there and it'll be. It's good.
It's all working fine.
Still can't.
Yep.
Who wanted to, that's nice.
Could have used it tonight. Yep.
They're, like regular, they're get paid for that.
Mhm.
Is there a speaker that gets all the way up?
Yep. The Zoom can work off of those 2 speakers right up there. Obviously, this will have to go up there. Okay, which is not really a problem once people sign on. So Maybe next time we're here, we can try it just to see if somebody's on Zoom.
Yeah, or even like. Speaker,
Mhm.
just that speaker.
We could do that. Yep, Yeah.
Stage it.
one that connects to the Mac.
All right.
Chief Shade hosted a meeting of different emergency agencies in town, building department, water department, and others. Past chief Frank was there also, basically it's over the project. One of our comments, the developer addressed most of them. We did reserve the right to sit down and talk, so a real site plan came out. And the developer all along this whole project, even back when it was just 2 buildings. He's always worked well with us. Pretty much anything we've asked for, he's take care of it, so to speak. Our issues and concerns. John got a letter about 1 or 2 months ago, and sent a letter out back to the developer and the planning board. But right now, it's just some small projects in town. That's like earth shattering for what we got.
We have one application for the junior membership for skip over the evening. We have much of the paperwork. That's going to come on something that's over line still, and the working paper was still being located.
They were supposed to, they were trying to get them done today, but I haven't heard.
I don't know if you want to. And then we approve this, and then next up, so we still get a physical one. That's the point. Make sure you, out that, you know, we can't be doing anything, so we got his working papers. 100%.
Yeah, I know. And I will note, both departments have been asking about getting everything in, so we don't typically approve it like this.
We just switched membership secretaries. And we're having.
We've heard of the kid before.
Public session. Public session.
In the back.
Hi. I didn't see you there before, Dave raised your.
That's all right. I was waiting for Scott. He had some questions. Okay. I've been looking at the LoSAP idea and what you guys are talking about doing. And I thought about the history of it when we started this program, because it was truly a retention program. And I want to say it's got to be at least probably 40 years old. And for what we spent then, I think we had a lot more active people involved. So now we have less people involved, but we're requiring more from those people. I look at the percentage of your budget, you're about 15% of your budget goes towards LoSAP, which to me, when you're employing over 100 people, that's not a bad deal. And I'm just looking roughly, if you employed 4 firefighters here as station keepers or whatever it is, I'm sure you'd be over 250,000 for 4 people. So I don't think it's such a bad thing, the program we have. You may want to look at adjusting that to a longer term for a number of years, seeing that most of our daytime manpower is 55 and up. If you do go with the program where you're giving out buyouts and all that stuff, it's interesting to the senior guys that have already collected. Because if you look at what some of the offers are, it's literally 10 years out. So people can kind of be okay with that. I would also look at the $1,200. I'm not sure if there's a cap on that. But to me, I think that $100 a month is less than what we're offering the people now to stay and recruit. I don't think that's positive. And if you look
I
back
think
at
that's a cap, Carrie's, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think we went to the max allowed by law. For the post entitlement you're talking about now?
Yeah.
Carrie, is the cap 1,200 now?
It's at 1,200 right now. There's been an effort to try and get it to 3,000, but it hasn't gone anywhere.
We're at the max.
All right, well, whatever that is, that's something I would let the board really review before they make a decision on this. Because I look at the idea of paying someone $1,200 after 12 months of service or 14 months into it. And you bank that, it's gonna be tough to retain anybody for $100 a month, no matter how you do it. I also look back at the 10% deduction on our assessed values. And that only works for people who own property. And we kind of, to me, shot ourselves in the foot by not giving it to every member that's ever been here. Because I think that works. It brings in grandkids, it brings in kids that, you know, that the parents talk positively about. And other districts have done, but that's a different story. Like I said, I think that the $1,200 thing may save the district money, but in the long run, if people grab that pile of money and walk away, we're gonna be hurting more than ever. These departments that have no LoSAP programs don't have any manpower. You can look right in Rensselaer County itself. I mean, there's, you know, the devotion thing is family driven. It's put together by people who have a big heart. We've seen it with our own ambulance, where we couldn't maintain the ambulance crews after a while because of work schedules and people having to work more jobs to pay, to have a house and have kids. I think you really have to take that consideration when you make a decision. It's not just about saving the money, because it could cost us a lot more in the long run. So it's my own opinion on it, and I hope you really look into it before you jump at the apple that's easier to pick. Because in the long run, paid people, it's gonna end up happening, and we're just trying to delay it as long as we can. I would suggest looking at 40 years of a program and still keeping, the 62 age was an excellent idea because you kept people around and they're starting to collect. You can see the daytime crews, both stations. It's older people getting the trucks off the floor. And I'm not worried myself about an extra $1,200, but for a young person who's paying $1,500 for rent if they're even moved out of their mom's house, it's really not enough for an incentive. So, thank you.
Yep. I think we've been doing our due diligence. We've got 2 or 3 meetings just dedicated to this, and you're gonna be putting together our
Just
options.
a quick response
Yeah.
is, Dave, I agree with what you're saying, but you're looking at it from your age perspective. This was not necessarily driven by money. This was driven by younger firefighters who want $1,200 and don't want the $20. They want to be able to see it now because they can't foresee 32 years from now getting the money.
I understand.
So it wasn't just completely a money under. Right. We met with some of them, you and I.
Yeah.
To discuss it. So, but we are doing our homework and I'm trying to consolidate all these different presentations we have so that I can present it to the board so they can make it.
No, I understand. I'm just saying, the way I look at it isn't just my age group. Because, you know, it's easy to sit there and wave $1,200 or a carrot in front of young people, they're gonna grab it. But in the long run, the way pensions are going and retirement programs are going and healthcare is going, we're putting money away just for that reason. And yeah, you're not gonna get your hands on it right away. It's probably a better for them. But if you hand your wallet out to a young person, they're gonna take whatever they can get out of their wallet, you know?
Your opinion value, we haven't made any decisions, I don't know that we're swaying one way or the other, and, you know, there's other members out there that feel just as strongly in a different sense. Right, I think we need to do our due diligence. You know, it's been
Just want to point out that there's a number of proposals before the legislature as early as this week, or as late as this week. And they address many of these things. They look at a number of different options that will be able to plug and play eventually in different parts of the fire service if they get passed by the legislature. As far as the one comment they made, I really gotta take comment to it, is that I've been to it, I know what we did here, I know we acted on Terry's advice of council here, and I've been to at least 2 different retention and recruitment seminars by 2 different presenters in the last 6 months that have both said that we did exactly what we were allowed to do under the property tax exemption. We could not have given it to everybody that was ever a member here. It could only, there was a very, very rigid way that was constructed, and we followed it right to the syllable. We gave everybody an opportunity to get it, but we followed it to the syllable. You couldn't just go back and say, oh, that guy was on the books, give it to him too. And any department that's bragging about having done that, they're either full of crap, or they violated the law, and eventually they'll be caught up. But I really think that I know how some of the people who worked on this board in getting those people the benefit that they were entitled to. And we went to some great extremes to get some guys qualified. And what we did, they went through the motions of getting qualified.
So on that note, not really related to LoSAP, but you mentioned the property tax exemption. Terry's on something I had thought of last week, kind of out of the blue. I don't live in the Waynesville Union Free School District, but I get all of their mailings of the Waynesville address. Town of Greenbush used to be the land of mergers, and we break ground. So question I asked Terry, if the Waynesville School District merges with the city of Troy, what happens to that property tax exemption for the people that live in the Waynesville School District if it becomes the Troy City School District? I'm gonna let Terry, he wasn't quite as confident.
I talked to the superintendent on that.
Well, let me just say, Terry,
Okay.
Terry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll defer to whoever talked. I haven't talked to anybody in the school district about that specifically. I've been away, but I'm glad you flagged that, Dan. It's a concern. If someone has more or better information, I'd love to hear it at this point.
I talked to Dr. Yotis. She had checked into it, and the city of Troy already has Brunswick 1 in the program, and they offer the 10% to the people in Brunswick. So the exemption still works. No, it's carried over because they're already in the program for Brunswick 1 and whatever other mergers they would be involved in. So they'll continue to get that break.
It was kind of a rarity, but the law did allow cities to do it, but most cities don't have volunteer. I mean, the Brunswick 1's a great example. And it didn't happen in too many places in the state, but a city approved it because part of its enlarged school district that embraced a territory served by volunteers. So if they're covering Brunswick, then I have a lot greater level of confidence that they can merge Wine and Skill and those people be taken care of. So if they didn't, I would probably be concerned the other way. They didn't already have it. And if they didn't have already passed it, it would be difficult. It would be a hard sell, I think, the first time in most city school districts to get them to do it because they don't necessarily reap a benefit of it. But that's good. That's good news to hear.
No, we checked into it as a department and had many conversations with Dr. Yotis.
Tiffany does that always better. She's been actively involved, and she said she didn't know that had been discussed. So I just wanted to. Yes.
While we're on that, if I can ring in, there's supposed to be one House bills introduced this week. It may have happened today. The Senate and the Assembly submitting their budget bills. And in those budget bills are 3 items that we were assured would be in there. One would be an increase, or, I mean, these are proposals, they could always get vetoed by the governor, but they're supposedly both the Democratic majorities in the House, in the Senate and in the Assembly are endorsing this, and it should be in their budgets. Increasing the $200 real income tax exemption. BASNY proposed up to 800. I don't know that that's going to fly, but there's a proposed increase. The second item is to do away with the either or for the real property and income tax, so that you'd be able to get both. If you owned real property, you'd be able to take the income tax exempt credit and the real property exemption. Right now, you can't. If you haven't filed your income taxes for 2025, make sure you don't take the $200 credit if you're taking the real property one. And the last thing, and this kind of goes to, I think was something Dave Wilson said. One of the proposals is to allow localities to increase the real property tax exemption above 10%. I don't think the state will object to that at all, because it doesn't cost the state anything. But the ask was to be able to increase it to 100% if they feel the need to do it. Now, that would allow local governments, for instance, the fire district could do that for its firefighters right now. I mean, assuming this gets approved. Will a school district do it? Maybe not, but maybe they'd bump it up above 10%. So you are literally on the cutting edge on the cusp of this. So we're expecting all three of those items to be introduced this week in the Assembly and Senate One House budgets, and absent some restriction from the governor or veto, they should both pass. Or both, all three of them. The three of them should pass, but I don't know what they're going to do with the raising the 200 credit to a higher number. In addition, there's also a movement to get nominal consideration approved, and up to, there's currently a bill pending up to $5,000. I don't know that will get passed this session or any session, but there's an effort to do that. But if you listen to Tom Richardson, former chief of FDNY, the other morning, he was advocating, he was out lobbying for payments to volunteer firefighters, and then commented that in the city of New York, they used to have 60,000 people sit for the test, and now they only have 20,000. So career departments can't get people either. I mean, this is not indicative of the volunteer fire service. This is indicative of people leaving the state of New York and not wanting to do this job. That's the reality of it, folks. So, yeah, we'll do as much as we can and everything we can. But I think all cards are on the table at this point.
We also look at, when we have firemen living outside of our town that volunteer to our town fire district, that they did something for there. But we have quite a few people that are members of Wyanskill, and I'm sure DeFreesville, that live outside of the Rensselaer County or even outside of the town of North Greenwich, so they don't have that benefit. And that's something they really got to consider, to make it more incentive for wherever you are. So, thank you.
So just so we can be clear on what you guys said last month, was that if you're already collecting, you have nothing to worry about, nothing's gonna change. So it's probably a half dozen of us in this room right here who are collecting, but started collecting well after 2018. The promise always was, if you did your 30 years, you got your 30 years to life. What's the difference between ours, or isn't there a difference between ours, those of us who are collecting now, well after 2018, and the guys that started collecting in 2017? Is there a difference in the number of years you can collect?
The people that were prior to that year was purchased an annuity for life. So they're locked in. You all, after that, are just drawing money out of our low-set BFIS fund. There wasn't an annuity for it. So the idea is if we would migrate from the defined benefit to the defined contribution, essentially the plan would go away. except for those who have an annuity already purchased. Our hope though was, originally, was to, the people that are currently collecting, keep collecting, but it looks like that was kind of like a no. We had, the different vendors. So it's still a work in process, Scott. We're still trying to find our way there.
I understand you're doing, you're visiting vendors, but what does that mean for us? Because we thought we'd collect for life because that's what was said. But now what are we really talking about? Are we gonna only get collect for 10 years or what's actually gonna happen compared to what we were promised at the beginning?
Well, like I said last month, I think we're trying to be as transparent as possible. And the problem with transparency is that people are running to bars, rumors, everything else. We're not gonna make a decision without seeing all the facts. If we find out 25 members are gonna get screwed over, 30, so whatever, how are we not gonna do it? We gotta see what the options are. The fact is, we got a base that doesn't want to get rid of it, and we got a base that wants to get rid of it. And we're in between right now. So we're still gonna, you heard Sean tonight say it. I said it last month, the month before, and the month before. There's 4 different options potentially that we can even be looking at. One of those options is nothing. We haven't even got to that point. I assure you, when we get to those 4 options, it'll be on the screen. And there'll be meetings with both departments, plenty of time for feedback from, like I asked for the last one, just give us a chance to get.
Well, we are, we're giving you a chance.
Yeah,
The
we don't know.
the question is, and we understand that you're visiting vendors, we get that. But the question is, you guys have made a statement that if you're already collecting, don't worry about it.
Yeah, in
You're
fact,
fine, but that may not be the case.
after the 3rd meeting that came up.
Right.
So, like we said, like I said last time, we all said it, just gotta look at that, if you find out it's like it's an inordinate number of people, how are we gonna do it? Secondly, like we discussed also, looking at an age group. Maybe, like we're, initially was the, the conversation was kind of like, well, if you're collecting now, you're not gonna get anything to get the middle group, I think you and I were talking at Chiefs Grill. I'm 57. It's beneficial to me, maybe you look at an age group, maybe it's 40 and below, but we don't know anything yet. We're not gonna screw people over. I mean, I can't.
Before it goes to me of that,
No, I've
there's a
heard
lot of
from other people
scuttlebutt
that-
over the question of if you're collecting, you're safe, which really, that may not be true. It may not be, we'll be able to collect 30 years. It might be something different.
Part of this,
That's
we've
fair
been
statement.
learning at these workshop meetings by bringing in BFIS, bringing in these other vendors. What we thought we knew wasn't necessarily
We just want
either
to make sure,
accurate or we didn't have the full
Right.
understanding of it.
we just want to make
Like
sure
the
the stuff what you're talking
pre-20,
about was
pre-17,
same.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know that we're gonna be having any more vendor meetings, but if we do, I encourage everybody to come. We always open up the floor, we let people ask questions. I mean, they've been pretty productive.
One point I wanna make, and I wanna say this as lightly as possible, people understand where I'm coming from on it. And cause I'm one of the ones affected by it, as much as I like us seeing and doing whatever we can to keep guys your age, my age, coming around. Keep the old guys coming around, because that's what we got right now, that's who's fighting the fires during the day, as was pointed out. The more money we spend on that, that's less money we've got for hiring station keepers or daytime people. So at some point, the board's got to say, okay, we shelled out X number of dollars here, but we still need some money here, to hire some people. So at what point do we stop saying, might we balance it? So I think that's something that's also got to be looked at. We're going to take away anybody's benefit. You're or mine, but it's something we have to look at.
Anything else for public session? Right, entertaining a motion to go into executive session to discuss, point of particular.
Like, I'm gonna shut this down, okay? They're gonna have to call in, yeah,
Okay.
call in, because I gotta shut this down. Yep. Do you want to call in, Bob?
Yeah,
Okay.
Should we use the Zoom number or do we just do, the?
I'll do a conference call with Mike Paul for both of you, okay?
Okay.
okay.